Hi everyone, Jamie Humphries here for Six String Alliance, and today we have a very special guest on the channel, someone who's been on the channel before, is without a doubt one of the most revered and respected and hard-working guitar players out there with a career spanning more than 50 years. He's been a part of Deep Purple, Kansas, Flying Colours, and also fronted his own band. So Steve Morse, thank you so much for joining us today on the channel again.
Well, thank you for having me, and it's great to be back. And you're the perfect host for something like this, because you understand literally every step of the chain and can do every step of the chain, from having a song idea to playing it, to recording it, to soloing over it, to analyzing it, to transcribing it, and yeah, that's a wonderful set of skills to have.
Well, thank you so much. Well, it's only it's because of you, studying your guitar playing since the 1980s, studying power lines, reading Open Ears. I think the Open Ears book for me was just a Bible, not just about the playing, but just how to conduct and compose yourself as a musician and get that mindset to be a working musician that gets jobs and hopefully keeps jobs, and how to be around other musicians. I think that's an incredibly important skill that I learned from that book.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that, I think, when it comes to helping players, especially young players, sort of understand what they're in for, if they want to, compete in that realm, it's really comes back to the boring stuff. But I talk for hours about why it's important, and that we spend most of our time as musicians, not the ones that, not, there are exceptions, but most of us guitarists spend most of our time by ourselves, practicing where we're the judge, we're the I guess the warden of the prison. Yeah. It's like, do this before you can get out, do this better before you can get out, or you need to work on this, you've been ignoring that, and is that really good enough? Is that the standard you're going to set for yourself? And on and on. So when we play live, that's all that people see, and not with the internet. It's like any gig you play live can be published. With the smartphones having such incredible capabilities. So it's really hard to see what a musician's made of until you see how they work, or understand how they work. And one way you could do that is to watch them do other things. Watch them interact with people, watch them deal with tasks that are outside of music, people that are extremely talented in different things, and observing how they deal with life, because a lot of times we're on tour together. And I love that learning opportunity to experience how, well, this guy is so good, but he's very careful about every aspect. He doesn't extend himself too far. He's not, I'm taking notes, trying to, obviously, when you ask a simple question or just give me one or two words, I take off on a big tangent. But
no, that's
things outside of music, the quality of work that we put out.
One of the things, as you were saying, focusing on the playing and stuff, but it's not just about the playing, it's also about being around other musicians and how to conduct yourself and how to interact with people, and how to deliver what a producer or a musical director is looking for. And also getting on, maybe you're traveling and you're living on the bus, getting on with people.
Great stuff right there. When you're on a bus tour, you're in a very tiny space. One person gets sick, they're all exposed to it, and in the course of a tour, guess what's going to happen? You're if your immune system isn't perfect, you're going to get sick, and you're feeling miserable. And you know the deal when you go on tour. If you cancel, if you don't have somebody to fill in for you, like right then, well, the gig's canceled. Well, now there's legal problems. Now there's, maybe 1,000 times more liability than you would have gotten paid.
Yeah.
And so your problems are times 1,000 if you don't show up for work. So you're working no matter how you feel.
Yeah.
And you're in a tight space. There's no escape. There's nowhere to go. You got that one bunk. And in my case, I was in my bunk in a truck. I'd finished my driving and was in the bunk when the truck crashed. And another time when the truck started to hit these barricades, and I rushed down. I was the only person awake because I have trouble sleeping in a moving vehicle. I rushed down and grabbed the wheel and moved us from hitting a concrete abutment of a bridge. And so I'm basically traumatized in some way. Got PTSD about sleeping in a bunk.
Yeah. It's a very confined space. I remember one of my first bus tours. The show finished and the bus, we were in Nova Scotia and we were in an arena and we got on the bus and I remember getting in the bunk and just crashing out because the bus wasn't leaving yet. And then the bus came out of the arena and they put chains on the wheels. And I remember waking up sort of rolling to one side, pulling the curtain of my bunk and looking up the aisle of the bus and just seeing the view out the driver's window of the bus sort of sideways trying to get up the street because there was so much snow and ice and thinking, are we gonna make it? So there's a lot of, it's fun, touring, but there's a lot of, I think romance attached to that people imagine, but the harsh reality is it's a difficult thing to do, I think. I think musicians need a certain mindset to be able to do that, be away, as we were discussing before, being away from family and things like that, and still delivering and composing yourself around others.
Yeah, because you very rarely have an ideal setup. Although I could say that, being on an extensive tour does take away some of the problems because, at some point, your playing is automatic, and assuming you're practicing every day.
Yeah.
On top of the shows, not the show itself is not enough practice for me. I'd have to do additional practice. But if you do that and the music without even having to think about it, that's the one thing that is easy. Is that now the music is nothing but fun. Unless you got personal, stressed out personal problems in the band, then that could suck. But in general, playing the music is the best part.
Definitely. So I want to talk today about, obviously it's been an incredible time recently for you with the release of your latest album, Triangulation. In fact, I'm going to reach down here because I have the vinyl.
Oh, nice.
I have such a wonderful partner that she did a little bit of snooping around and saw that I'd copied the link from one of the Steve Morse forums that I'm in on Facebook, so that I could actually get this is so cool that I could actually get, here we go, the orange vinyl. And we've been away, so I got back from Christmas and this was here because we went to England to visit my family, but I've been listening to the album a lot. As I'm an Apple Music user, which I always think Apple Music out of all the streaming services seems to be the one that sounds the best. But there was something almost like a religious experience for me putting this on yesterday and doing something that I've not done since I was a kid, which was reading the liner notes and reading the thank yous and and just getting into the artwork whilst listening to the album. And it was I haven't done that. So thank you for that, Steve, because this is the first album that I've played on my new turntable, and have really, really enjoyed that experience. So let's just
Thank you for getting it. That's awesome.
No, it's as I've said to you before many times, I've been listening to you since the 80s, and so I'm always an avid collector of your instructional material. I've got VHSs, the complete styles, power lines. I have all that stuff. Even recently, I got a couple of your new books. There was a soloing course that you did, which is really enjoyable, and I also got the Stress Fest tab book off of your website. So it's I always love getting into an artist and following someone and being able to now physically hold some music as opposed to just streaming it. I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's what it used to be. You'd invest something. My son still feels that way. He won't. He like hasn't really commit to learning every song on whichever band he's listened to.
But it's a really cool experience, I think, that a lot of young people now haven't experienced. You actually have something. I think we live in this time where you're downloading stuff and everything's so fast. You listen to a few seconds and then on to the next thing. But I put that on and I sat down and enjoyed the music and enjoyed the experience of vinyl, but reading it. But just wanted to ask you, so when did you first sort of start thinking about revisiting the Steve Morse Band?
I think it was after all the upheaval of life. After COVID, during COVID, my wife, it was horrible, the worst time. I mean, my mom died from the reaction to the booster, and it was like instantaneous clotting of her lungs. And then we discovered that, like that day, that my wife, she had gone over there and was in such pain after my wife died. I mean, after my mom died, we discovered she had cancer. I mean, taking her all around the country trying to find out this mysterious ailment and reaction, and finally find that it was advanced cancer. So we fought that up until the end, and that Deep Purple went off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And it's weird. If I felt like I was in the desert, just got dropped off the wagon train.
Oh, I can't.
And the wagon train's disappearing into the sunset. Musically, there was nothing that I was doing, but I did work on this piece with my son to play at the memorial. And it's a very sad piece because, of everything, but I got into it and I said, you know what, I want this piece of music to tell the story, the glimpses of what it's like, from the shock, the hope, the shock, the despair, the, total loss. And then finally, the hope that there's a better place. That sort of got me primed, was really my son saying, you should record that. I said, well, we just played it, so maybe somebody did record it on their phone or something. No, we should record that. Okay. And then Van and Dave were saying, they missed playing with the band, and we just really committed to it. So Dave LaRue lives in the same town. He would come over 2 or 3 times a week, and we work on ideas. I always have something ready for him to try. And we do on the spot editing. Like while he was learning the part, I'm playing my part over and over and changing it in reaction to what he's doing. And as he's learning his part, I'm saying, oh, by the way, that's an F natural, and he's saying, no, you said F sharp. I said, I know. We're just trimming and changing. And so that's the way we do it. It's kind of live fine tuning. And then when at the end of, when Dave's got to go, we're like, all right, let's stop. Let me record what we've got worked out. And that becomes our reference Bible. And we make a template of the song with all different chopped up takes just to remember the notes. And we give that to Van, and then he comes down and we work as a 3-piece band live in the same room and finish the arrangements.
It's really funny. You've just answered like 3 of my questions. I'd like to, I had all this stuff, but this is great. So I wanted to say, because your music it's unlike other guitar music, I think, and I think that's why I am so drawn to it, and I think it's why so many other people are drawn to it. It's so detailed, and there's lots of different sections. There's melody, and then there'll be like, these counterpart lines between you and Dave, where and you're always playing like there'll be a part, Dave will play a part, and there's a space, and it's so intricate. And that's what I was wondering. How do you, where do you start? And like you just said there, is it this is a cool idea, let's record that, then let's see how these fit together?
My favorite thing is having the counter melodies and the interplay, as well as, going to the nitty gritty of fast riffs together.
Yeah.
That's always good. But for the majority of the music, I'm thinking of melody. Who's got the melody? And if I've got the melody or Dave's got the melody, what are we going to play that's interesting to back that up? And then a lot of times I will, add extra lines, even a third line that's doing a different counter melody. And part of it is that it's sort of like being hungry and saying, I'm not hungry for that. When people say, well, would you like some spaghetti? No, I'm not hungry for that. In other words, they know what they want, but they're not sure. They'll know it when they, smell it or taste it, And it's that way when I'm writing, is that I'm hungry for this other part that I haven't gotten yet, that I know it's there. I'm going to find it. And I guess that's the easiest way to explain it, is you just keep listening to that sort of gut instinct. That the gut instinct is formed by 60 years of listening to music and analyzing it.
Yeah.
And loving some of it,
That's something as well that's always a strong part. As you said, there's the counterpoint, the interplay. There's, you and Dave are so in the pocket on this album. I was listening to Off the Cuff and March of the Nomads and Tumeni Partz as well. These lines that you play together, but above all, like listening to Breakthrough, these really strong melodies. When you're practicing the guitar, when you sit down daily, if you're not working on maintaining technique or keeping the wheels working, do you find that you're coming up with, that's a cool melody, I'm just going to record that on a phone or something? Do you notepad melodies and then draw on those melodies later on?
Yes, all the above. Actually, I keep track of stuff on the phone. Like if I'm in a hotel room and I don't have my recording stuff set up at the moment. Because one interesting feature about getting older is that your memory gets better and better. Oh no, I forgot. It gets worse.
Look at me at the start trying to make my microphone work.
So yeah, I try to, if something seems interesting, whether or not it turns out to be interesting, I'll record it.
Yeah.
And then a better way to do it is to make some kind of template, on my studio computer over here, or on the computer I'm talking to you on. But that requires, digging up the chords and making sure everything working, getting everything set. Well, that's the wrong tempo. And really, it takes some time away from the moment. So the phone memo feature works.
Yeah.
And you can import those files and use them, to jog your memory.
Yeah.
And put them in the project, especially when there's lots of parts. And I've done that. And they're recognizable sometimes when I use them in a song, but not the same. They're things, you change things, you naturally do.
Yeah. So let's talk to just you've touched on some interesting points there. Sorry. So you and Dave are working, and you're taking ideas, piecing them together, and then you say you send those ideas over to Van, and is he sending you demos back of drum takes, or do you get together with him before the recording sessions?
Yeah, he comes down and we do physically 3-piece band in a room.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's the meat and potatoes, because we have to make every song work live.
Yes.
At that point. But for something like March of the Nomads, a lot of which I'd already recorded beforehand, I'm just playing one of the parts, and there's a bunch of parts. So it's not an ideal 3-piece band tune, but that's something I do on recordings. Is I have a variety of pieces, and one of the elements of variety is having a more polyphonic texture.
Yes.
With strings and bagpipes and that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny you mention about the bagpipes, because you've always had that strong sort of Celtic element to your music as well. That's one of the things I love. There's classical, there's fusion. On Tumeni Partz, there's some beautiful, clean, like fusion inspired chords, and then there's rock and roll riffs and that southern country blues style that you have as well. It's there's such a mix of different styles that you put together and I think that's why your music is so appealing to guitar players and, importantly, non-guitar players as well. Well,
I'm very lucky to have been able to have a career, even though I knew going into it that I was going to be on the fringe of success at the very best. Like my best moments was going to be being able to see what it must be like.
Yeah.
But there's a place for everybody. And because there's so many bands and everything, people want to sort of categorize you as something. And they couldn't categorize us, when we did the Dregs music back in the 70s. It was 2 rock for classical, 2 classical for rock, 2 jazz for rock, 2 country for rock, 2 rock for country. What they just gave up and just said, let's put something else in the D section, not Dregs. So I guess that sort of became my thing. Writing pieces that are not they're different. There's a large variety on the album. That sort of became my style.
Yes, yeah. So going back to I want to get to the really nerdy stuff now. If we haven't been nerdy enough already, but I love the nerdy talk. So the recording process, again, thanks to the album sleeve notes, I was able to see that obviously you produce. You always I've seen other interviews where you know you've always produced the Dreg stuff and your own stuff, but you recorded the drums at, I think I've made a note here because I'm getting old, Live Wire Studios. Now when you went in and cut the drums, because I have to say the drums are huge on this recording, the kick drum, listening to the kick drum on vinyl is an experience. It's just got that big, you know, that big fat punch to it. It sounds amazing. But it was when Van was cutting his drums. Are you guys playing together? Are you in like the control room doing it as a 3-piece, or is he playing to clicks and backing tracks, or how does that work?
Okay, well, we record the band arrangements together, and then that becomes the top line of the template for all three of us. And after that, you know, everybody knows what to do. Van would, his studio is up in Jersey where he lives. Yeah. So he did all that, you know, drum sounds but Carl Roa, who mixed the album, is down in Florida here. So a big part of this was having an external mixer. And when you're doing low budget stuff that, you know, that's not super mainstream, the word budget usually is kind of a joke, but we did have to budget in having Carl mix it, because some years ago when I was out with Purple, I got some kind of infection that caused me to lose the hearing in my right side. And instead of that, I hear this jet engine screaming so loud, not just the tinnitus that I have that I've always had, you know, my whole life from playing loud, but it, you know, I can't hear in stereo, and some frequencies I can't hear because they're covered up. Obviously, I can hear speech and I can do things. I can still write music and I can understand and analyze music, but I can't mix. So Carl was a big important part of the sound, making it work out. And Van did his own production. That's why in the credits it should read produced by Steve Morse Band.
I stand corrected, Steve. It says produced by Steve Morse Band.
Okay, cool.
It does say that.
Yeah, so each guy did his own thing, and basically what I would do is they would send me either roughs or finished parts, and I'd put them together with mine and say, all right, this part here feels just dead. I need something more. I'm not feeling it. And it feels like you're more behind the beat than I am. I can time adjust it or shift it or something, but let's work on the feel there and give some more energy. Or to Dave, I would say, yeah, your solo is really good. This one part here bothers me a little bit. But that, and, you know, all the parts and everything are working fine. And is it okay if I put some, you know, take the top end of the bass and put some effects on it, you know, separate it out?
Yeah.
And that's the cool way to put effects on the bass, by the way, is to chop the bass into two parts, like have a pass filter, you know, an EQ point. All the low end goes here on this track, all the high end goes to this track, and then then you make it into two stereo tracks, you know, with some time shift, some modulation or whatever. Do that with the bass, and it sounds so awesome.
Well, I was going to say that to you, that Dave's bass on this album sounds immense. You know, and that whole, you know, we haven't touched on the guitars yet, but the drums and the bass together, it's just such a great sound. And that's obviously, well, you know, thanks to that technique that you've just mentioned there.
but I love his bass playing all the time on everything. He did some solos that were like a sax player would do. Really, really great stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the album was a masterpiece for Dave. And at the rate of us producing an album every 16 years, the next one may be, in wheelchairs.
Well, I hope it's not that long. So let's get to the really nerdy stuff now. Let's talk about recording the guitar. So I'm guessing that Dave also recorded at your studio, and you did.
No, Dave did his stuff in his.
Oh wow! Okay. So everybody was working separately once you had those final drum takes that Van had done.
Yeah, and the parts we did together, in the same room, Dave and I, every day, was really the
pre-production.
Yeah, pre-production, but mostly song arrangement.
So when it comes to recording the guitars, obviously you're going to be using your number one Ernie Ball Music Man a lot. There's some beautiful tones. That was another question. I try to be very organized here with everything that I've written out, but there's some incredible tones when you listen to the album. There's that thick, crunchy rhythm sound that we associate with you, and then those really beautiful, creamy neck pickup lead tones. But then you'll be getting, like single coil, like those just slightly broken up tones. You've really paid a lot of attention to the position of the guitar within the mix and the tone of the guitar. And I think it really goes to show why that guitar that you play is so amazing and so incredible. And it's so you as well.
I love my guitar, and it's incredibly versatile. And so I use it almost on every tune, all the different possibilities almost. But my friend Brian Moritz came down from Chicago, and he was bored and just wanted to come, and he volunteered. And when you come volunteer here at the place, you're going to get roped into doing something. So you don't ever want to come visit unless you want to. Yeah, it's really nice here. You got a great place. I said, yeah, actually, I'm trying to move this pile of wood over here. You want to help me? So with him, it was, I got to record all this stuff. And so he brought some of his plugins and he said, oh, you got to try this preamp, or you got to try that. We did a lot of that experimentation stuff, but he volunteered to be the engineer, so I could just sit there and hold the guitar. Because normally you're holding the guitar and then you're doing this.
Yeah.
And then pick back the guitar.
Yeah. So that's interesting that you've mentioned about using plugins and preamps. Was the main workhorse though your Engl amps?
Yes, that's the thing. I tried everything that he brought, and saw. Brian is sort of like my insider guy that he finds out the newest things, and for me to check out, and directs a lot of music my way for me to listen to also. Anyway, I ended up with the little 20-watt amp on the direct output.
Yeah.
And it has these IR stimulators.
Yes.
And so I would double that with the 100-watt going through, the speaker cord in the other room with the mics on the cabinet.
Right.
Coming up through, Chandler preamp and back into my computer. So the two of those together for some of the parts really made a slightly different approach. So they're not exactly the same. So you don't get phase problems. You don't, it just didn't seem like a double all the time, but it changed the sound in a good way.
So when you say double, are you saying that you're double tracking with the different amps, or you're, you're not splitting the signal simultaneously. You're double tracking.
Yeah. If you look at my track list, there's the 100-watt main, there's the 20-watt, and those could be left and right of a part.
Yeah, that 20 watt, as you know from our countless conversations via email, that 20 watt is just an incredible amplifier. And that the capabilities of, I've recorded it here with the cab out in my live room, but also with the direct out simultaneously capturing the IRs. It's such a it's a marriage of modern technology with classic values, I think.
That's a good way to put it. You're better at phrasing things.
Yeah, write that one down.
That's phrase.
But as you know, I love that amp, and I've been using that amp a lot. So it's incredible. So and something else I wanted to ask as well is, obviously you're known for this very unique approach to effects, which again, for any of the viewers out there, if you haven't checked out Steve's book, Open Ears, do yourself a favor and look that up. There's a brilliant section in the Open Ears book where you discuss your wet-dry rig. And I actually ended up doing this years ago. I got like a little Boss line selector that I used as a mixer, and I had an Ernie Ball volume pedal for one, delay and another. And I was just using little Boss pedals, and I had 2 amps. And one amp was my wet amp and the other amp was my dry amp, and blending those effects in. So were you printing the effects? Were you working in that way with the wet dry stuff? Or because the sound is quite direct on this album. It's very in your face sound.
Yeah, most of the time I did record dry, but in fact, even with the clean guitar, like when I played the classical guitar, I plugged it in and used the clean setting on the big amp, the Engl amp.
Wow!
And it's got such a good clean sound that it's warm, but it's not distorted.
Yes.
And so that's what I use that amp for everything. And then the effects, I did a couple. I did a bunch of parts. Went during a phase when I was using that wetter pedal. It's like an insert mixer,
right?
That you can put in the effects chain and change the volume, the relative volume between wet and dry of whatever effects you've got. I was using that and controlling it with just a control voltage pedal, so that anytime I wanted to, I could just press down and get some delay without having to mic up another track or another cabinet in another room, or without having to double up the tracks every time. So if I wanted to just add a little delay for some of the parts, I just pressed down on the pedal.
Is that the gig rig pedal?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah. I know Dan. I've known Daniel at Gig Rig for many years, but I remember seeing a rig rundown with you, and I was like, it's a Gig Rig pedal. That's really cool. Yeah,
I think I had to order it from UK or something. Anyway, when I read about that, I said, all right, this is awesome. Somebody finally gets it. It is like I was using prototyping using radio control to move a servo, to move the balance knob on the pedal, to get something in line.
Yes.
Although effects in the effects loop is not technically in line, like going between the guitar and an amp, where it would really cause problems. But in the effects loop is for me in line compared to a wet dry setup.
Yeah.
So I did have that for some things, and it's printed on the sound, and sound man has no choice. The mixer, Carl, had no choice. He just like, some of these parts are pretty wet. Can you send me the dry ones? I said, nope.
That's what you're getting.
Can't do it. But Bill Evans, he's the executive producer. Bill was involved with Flying Colors and all kinds of stuff. He's a great guy, but he's one of those super nerdy geniuses, and he knew back before the AI boom, how to get rid of effects.
Yes,
if you wanted to, it would take some time, but he could make a track that's too wet. He could make it dry.
Wow.
Yeah, without changing the sound.
Yeah, yeah. So just one point that I forgot to ask you, actually, you were saying about using the number one Music Man. Do you find yourself ever reaching for the Y2D or other variants? Some of those beautiful BFR 2 pickup versions, or is it primarily?
Yeah. In fact,
here we go.
This is what I just had plugged in from last night.
Oh wow! Look at that.
It's a different version of a Y2D.
That's a beautiful guitar. Beautiful.
With the I think they're EP pickups, but the amp's in the other room. I got to turn on the speakers. But the reason I was doing this is I was going through all my different guitars and trying to play, because at the NAMM show I'm supposed to play a guitar off the shelf.
Right.
With Paul Gilbert is going to be playing too, and they're going to pick one of the demo guitars off the rack and hand it to me to play. So I'm trying to get used to playing different guitars.
Yeah.
Every guitar is different.
Of course.
Feel.
It's funny you mentioned that. I watched. Obviously, I've had the honor of playing your number one years ago. I think I've played it on 2 occasions. There was once when we did a thing in London together and I played it. And then when I came down to a Deep Purple sound check and we did something and I got to play through your rig, which I kept the video because it was for me personally, it was one of those, one of those moments. But I saw a video recently. It's an older video where I think Sterling presents you with number 2. Was that correct?
Oh, yes. And I had that, and I've gone through the struggle of what do I do, but just being, out and in the studio and getting moved around by, like when we did the video here, and there's like tons of people moving things around and stuff was getting knocked over and things like that. I get so stressed about having, that's a museum piece, but since I've had it, I've been using it. And so I got more scratches on it and it got knocked over and stuff. So I feel really guilty that I use stuff and don't keep it perfect. But on the other hand, it tells a story. Like, here, let me get.
There it is.
This is my baby. And all this was just from years and years and years and years and years and years of constantly playing.
It's iconic. It's one of those iconic guitars.
It fits me so well.
Yeah. And I see you've had the string damping system that I know you've had. That looks a little bit more engineered than the original one that I saw in an interview.
Oh no, it's still the same. I just have the piece off. These thumb screws come off and the piece goes there, and it hinges here and has latches up here. It's just something I made in the shop.
Yeah, but again, it just it's so kind of typical to you, Steve, that there's a problem. You find a solution. You build something like how developing the original Frankenstein Telecaster. I want this, I want that. You took those parts and you built it.
Yeah. I was in a cover band and we were doing Led Zeppelin and Hendrix. How do you do that? You know? And to me, the answer that I came up with was using the Strat, which was my only guitar at the time, but then using the middle range boost of the Vox amp. The Vox amp that was solid state, had 3-position middle range boosts. And one of them, I think it was the number 2 position, would make my Strat sound more like a humbucking.
Yes.
And that's how I did the quick change from one to the other with a foot switch on the middle range boost. The old tube Vox amps didn't have that.
Yeah.
So I didn't like them. and the transistor ones kept blowing up because the way that I got my distortion by running another amplifier in front of it and hitting it with too hard of a voltage.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, but that's by distressing this and, abusing the amp is how I got the sound.
Well, it's funny you say that about Voxes, because of doing the Queen stuff that I did for so many years, either with Brian or in the We Will Rock You show. That's what we did. We had a Vox amp with everything flat out, and then we stuck a treble booster. I think it was something like plus 20, maybe it's like 30 dB of boost from one of those, and I'd be doing those shows and I'd have 2 of them. And you'd be playing, all of a sudden, pop, there it goes, push the button onto the next amp. Can I have another amp, please? You're just abusing this thing to get, but that's the same, when playing with Brian, he was always, pop, it's gone, next one. I don't know whether, again, this is effect or whether it's double, but sometimes it sounds like your melodies and solo parts are even double tracked. Is that physically double tracked?
I do that a lot.
Wow, you've got to be super accurate to do that.
Yeah. Take an example. In March of the Nomads, where it breaks down to the band, kind of like a horn line or something, but it's on guitar. Yeah. That's just one guitar and one rhythm guitar. The part that on Nomads, the part that I did do with just one. That's all just one guitar, but now in the main melody, there's so I'm marking out the tunes. That's just the rough guitar doing that. When I actually record it, there's 2 guitars playing.
Yes.
And then 2 guitars doing the.
Yes.
And so on until I have at least 6 or 8 reproducing that triad. So, yeah, I double the melodies all over the place on the record.
There's such beautiful chord voicings as well that you use. They just sound incredible. It's just such a unique part of your style and sound, the way that you voice chords.
Well, thank you. The voice leading was an important, sort of discovery for me in my education. Was going from that to
yes,
keeping those same chords close together, and only moving the things you have to, as opposed to the
massive intervallic jumps.
Yeah. Yeah. You said it. You always say it so much better.
No, I don't. I should. My mouth runs away. I should let you speak. It's like having.
That's what I was looking for. It must be hell for you, like watching me trying to form these sentences with with my limited vocabulary.
Steve, it's like having my own
limited literary vocabulary.
It's like having my own personal power lines. I'm in heaven right now. I love
that massive intravalic jump.
Well, it's true though, isn't it? I think
Very true.
When people play the guitar, they, obviously learning a bar chord on the guitar is incredibly hard to be able to hold all 6 strings with one finger, but that opens up so much for people. Wow, I can move this one chord around. But then if you actually study a chord and then look at what notes are shared, the common tones, and what notes maybe move, a semitone or a tone either way, you get, as you say, that close voice leading, those much more satisfying and musical transitions between chords.
Yeah. And then especially when you're doing counter melodies or counterpoint, you have to have room to move your melody. And so you keep changing those notes, and you don't want to step on the other part by repeating it or falling into unison all the time. So then now your writing becomes a lot more difficult. You can't just automatically do it. You have to think it through.
Yes, yeah. I want to move on because obviously you're always so generous with me, Steve, with your time, and I don't want to keep you. Could sit here, it would be like we've been here 5 hours or something. But I'd love to touch a little bit about. Actually, I've just read my notes here about the lead lines being double tracked, and one of the examples that I picked out was Icebreaker. With a section in that, there was some beautiful melodies.
And that's always hard to do because of the bends.
Yeah.
And so what I just have to keep trying. Like if I've got the main part down, I'm trying to double it. Yeah. If I can't get it after a few tries because the bends are so different, I'll just redo the part that I can't match and the other one really quick as double takes.
Yes.
As repetitive takes.
Yeah.
And then pop that in.
Yeah.
And that usually fixes the problem.
I felt that the track Breakthrough was such a huge statement. When we all anticipated following social media and the little teasers, it's coming, and I remember when it was launched, and I sat down here, made a coffee, put it on, and it was like, whoa, what was that? This massive riff, this melodies, and then it's just such a phenomenal piece, but also it. For me, and even she'll kill me for quoting her. She said, "No, you don't have to quote me." But even my partner said to me, "It really feels like that Steve's like, here I am. This is me." Because for years, obviously, I don't want to go into the Deep Purple thing. I think loads of people, that's spoken about. But it really felt like you were back. Was that something? Did the title reflect that? Was that intentional, or was it just something that?
Yeah, definitely. It was instead of for the best years of my musical career, I was in Purple full time, and everything I did external to that was only during time off. And some of the time off, you have to have time off.
Yes.
So I was very limited in what I did, extra projects. So when Breakthrough was the kind of riff I would bring into a Purple writing session.
Yeah.
It's very straight up.
Yes.
Very straight up. And possibly with a Purple tune, it would have stayed that way, and not had all the departures that the tune itself has. But yeah, I just felt like that I knew what kind of stuff the band would like,
Yeah.
or would have a chance for the band to like when I would bring in ideas.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, I would still bring in ideas that I thought were outside. And based on that, because of John Lord having such an eclectic personality, that's how we came up with Sometimes I Feel Like Screaming. It was an idea that I was working on during a break in the studio. We're on break, a tea break, as you know.
Yes.
Everything is going well, and it just stops.
Yeah.
Everybody drinks yet another
cup of tea,
mug of tea. And, I grew addicted to it as well, even to the point of putting milk in my tea.
That's the only way to drink tea, Steve.
It was awesome. So, anyway, so during the tea break, he heard me working on that and said, yeah, let's do something like that. I said, I was working that for something else. I didn't think that, okay, yeah, let's try it. And anyway, so this I came up with, after it was clear that I was never going to be playing in Purple.
Yeah.
But it was in the same band. It was like, this is me, but this is me bringing an idea to my band,
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the new paradigm.
Yeah.
I'm not, full-time in Purple. I'm not in Purple at all. I'm not even part of the Purple organization. I was completely wiped off the records of the universe. And that was for business reasons, they had the reasons for that, new management and so forth. And you know about that. But the breakthrough part is that, yes, this is something that I'm going to try to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really should have done it sooner.
Well, as you say, Purple, you were in Purple for so long, but I know I can speak for the legions of guitar fans that listen to you. And as I said, I've listened to you. You are the reason I play a Music Man guitar, and I've played Music Man guitars for pretty much my entire, I'm coming up for nearly 30 years of working with them. And so
wow.
It's been a long time. And it's when you really invest in an artist, and this means something to me, these songs, this playing, and then all of a sudden I have to listen to Deep Purple to enjoy your playing. And so I'd always be going, let's listen to, Southern Steel, and Coast to Coast is one of my most all-time favorite albums. It's just, you go back and Structural Damage as well. You go back and put those albums on because you want to hear Steve Morse as the artist, not Steve Morse as part of Deep Purple. And so now with Triangulation coming out, it's like, thank you. So it's just, I hope there's more to come. It's great to hear you doing your thing. Another track that I really, and again, tell me if I'm taking up too much of your time, Steve, but Tumeni Partz, which really is a nod back to classic Steve Morse Band, and it has all of those different elements within it. The as I mentioned before, the clean chord section, lots of the counterpoint melodies between you and Dave, harmonics, artificial harmonics, and some stunning picking as well. I know that I'm going to be like, how did he do that? It has all of those elements, odd time, there's shifting meters. With that track, was that an intentional thing? Because it's very progressive. Was that an intentional thing, or was it oh, we got this cool part. Like you say, when you're writing and you're mixing and matching the parts together and it just evolved? Or did you set out?
It did evolve because Dave was coming over and I wanted to have something ready for him every time he did. And so he would come in and say, well, what have you got this time? I said, well, actually, I thought we could keep going on that idea we've been working on. I said, another part? Okay, yeah. I said, what we could do is we could see what works and then, what works best of all this. And I guess we just became used to hearing it all strung together, and we changed the order a little bit and said, you know what, this could work. This, it's never, we've never done a tune this long, but we got up to almost 11 minutes.
Yeah.
The tune and just part. And that's why I said, instead of too many notes, we call it too many parts.
That's great.
And when you laugh at a title, that becomes the title.
Yeah.
When it makes you laugh.
Yeah. So also there's collaborations on this. In the past you've collaborated with Jeff Watson, and but I don't. There's a lot of collaboration on this album. John Petrucci, Eric Johnson, and also your son Kevin as well.
Yes.
I think that we need to talk a little bit about Taken by an Angel. It's such a beautiful and emotional piece, and it must also be very special for you to be recording with your son as well.
Yes, I asked him to play this. I had part of this, the ending part of the tune already, and I'd even tried to get to Purple to play it and develop it into a bigger thing. It didn't work out for that situation, but I said, here, this is perfect for the uplifting, hopeful part of the end.
Yeah.
But let's write the story of, like I said, to me, it was the last night in the hospital, just being alone, watching the clock tick.
Yes.
Tick, tick, listening to breathing machines and absorbing and just saying, what does life mean at this point?
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do now. There's literally nothing more I can do.
Yes.
For the last 2 years, we've been fighting, going here, going there, trying everything, getting double opinions and triple opinions. And it's happening. It's over. This is it.
Yeah.
And just the tune goes from that, almost like that dripping water sound from where the time slows.
Yeah.
And there's no happiness in your world. It left. It's all gone. And then you follow the process of finally reaching your spirituality. And like I said, Jen, just praying and hoping for the best. So the tune has all that in it. And I thought it was too weird and too personal, but Kevin, he's the one that said, no, you should record it, Dad.
Yeah.
That's an important, the music, it sounds good enough to where you can just listen to it without having to know the story of it. So you don't have to, you don't have to introduce it.
Yeah, but just listening to it, you can hear what a personal piece it is, and I think it's amazing. For you, I don't want to dwell on things, but to go through that, the loss of, someone so close, and then the purple thing, and you've, as we've spoken before, with your hand, and you've just overcoming and moving forward. It's so inspirational to see, Steve. It really is incredibly inspirational to see.
Well, as humans, we adapt, and we're herd animals. I remember the first time I saw a dog with his leg gone, and he was acting like a normal dog. And I was a kid. That made a big impression on me.
Yeah.
He has to work harder on that other leg, but he still was reacting just like a dog. Throw the ball, I'll get it,
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Three-legged dog. Well, we adapt. We figure out ways. And if we don't adapt, we should. We should. Life will go on,
Yeah.
You have no choice, even though when it seems like there's nothing left in the world, there he is. You just got to shift your focus.
So let's also touch on collaborating with Eric Johnson and of course John Petrucci, which I think fans have been wanting to hear you two record together, because obviously I've got I don't know whether it's you and John together or it was John on his own, and he said that he came to one of your clinics and he got a thing signed and you were like practice or something on written on it. It's funny because I met John years ago and handed him one of my guitar books and he wrote, "Make sure you practice" in the front cover. He wrote it in my book. So it's so amazing to see the kind of Jedi Master and Padawan together on this piece. So when you did you wrote the piece, or are you writing and collaborating together? How does that work?
Okay, well, each one was slightly different. For the John Petrucci piece was one that we already had, but I thought I could easily set this up as a duet. But I resisted asking my friends to play on the album because, everybody asks everybody to play on their album so that they'll, get more clicks or whatever. As sort of as a, help me out with my album on a business level. But I'm thinking of this as this, this could be my last band album. I don't know. I would really like to have you play on it. John and I worked on a piece together and we never finished it. He was on tour, I was on tour. We really wanted to be in the same room writing it together. And so instead of starting up with that, I just picked a tune that I had that I wanted to put on the album, and basically broke it up into, you play this melody, I'll answer this, back and forth.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who John Petrucci is, he's the most incredible guitarist. There's literally nobody that can do what he does. Nobody does what he does better. Nobody. Because he has elevated every part of his playing, not just the technique. The technique's phenomenal. And so in perfect articulation, but his musicality and his writing and everything, it just keeps
elevating,
keeps growing. Yeah. I don't know how I mean, for decades, I've been saying this to him, that I don't know how you get better, man, but you got better, every time I see him play.
I find that very, it's strange to hear you say that, because I listen to this and think, you got better. It's just, this is elevated for me with.
Well, technically I can't do what I could do. The things are different, there's a difference.
It doesn't, I don't notice that, Steve, when I listen to it. The playing is on fire.
Yeah, I'm trying to play within my limitations, and that's an important thing of life. Whatever we do, as Clint Eastwood said, man's got to know his limitations. but back to John, he is so big. Dream Theater just got back with Mike Portnoy and everything, and they're touring forever, and it's I know that grind when you get off a tour and, oh yeah, would you mind just doing another tune, knowing that you're going to be judged on it by a bunch of guitar listeners. Don't just play naturally and relax. It's something that's going to be looked at carefully. So it's a lot of stress to put on somebody. So I didn't want to ask him, and because we're friends, and I figured as a friend he would say, yeah, I'll do it. The same way you lend somebody your pickup truck, but you don't want anybody else driving your pickup truck. But for your friend, you got to. And I thought it was going to be like that, but he was very gracious and he was actually the last one I asked, because that tune was the last one, because I just didn't want to. I guess I just didn't want to be that guy of saying, you just got off tour. How about let's celebrate by giving you a bunch of more work? But like I said, he was very gracious and he wanted to do it, and he did a fantastic job. He can't play a bad solo. He can't play a bad part. But he elevated everything. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And with Eric, it was kind of the same thing about me being reluctant to ask him. I guess we were pretty far into the project, and I had a tune that I had in mind for Eric. And after I talked to him, and he said, yeah, I'd love to do it, man. And I got the vibe that he would want to do it and to be on it, because, like I said, we don't know how many years we got left. So after I hung up the phone, I was playing through the tune idea that I had, and I said, I need to do something that's like the 70s when I met Eric.
Yeah,
we were playing upbeat, instrumental music, mostly, and I was just hearing that kind of rhythm and vibe, and so I said, I think I'll just write one in the style of where where Eric and I kind of really come together, which is a pretty broad area of sort of common influence. And so I wrote the tune and gave him the template where it said, here, you play this part, I'll do this part, and put them on separate tracks. And then he sent it back, and it was, beautiful Eric Johnson.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Eric's always beautiful sound.
Yeah, he is a beautiful player. But another surprise collaboration was the live when you were touring, taking out another guitar player, taking out Angel Vivaldi with you. I didn't see that coming, that you'd ever, introduce another member into the trio.
I was preparing for the tour idea and just trying to see what I could do with my wrist, and I was still going through different treatments.
Yeah,
and I was just starting this radiation therapy, and I just didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah,
and I said, let's see if is there anything I can do to take some of the pressure off.
Yeah,
and rather than it worked out to where I was playing the songs.
Yes.
And so instead of saying, all right, well, Angel, we don't need you, it was like, well, let's do what we can. Let's do things we couldn't do before.
Yes.
Now that you're here, play the third counterpoint line, or play the part of Eric Johnson, or play the part of John Petrucci.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And he's just a brilliant guy that can fit into any situation. Very, very musical and very, very smart, very intellectual guy.
Yeah.
Very, and quick with everything. And so, I was really it was really good to be around and absorb, you know, the different ways that he views things. He like relentlessly was, you know, filming things for his online world. He has, you know, subscribers and things like that. Things that I don't know about because I spend more time on the computer than the guitar already, and I don't want to spend any more.
So with that, with your collaboration with Angel, do you think that's something that will continue in the future on live shows, or will you ever go back to that classic Steve Morse Band trio, do you think?
I actually don't know. One thing I'm planning on doing in the future is try playing some. I may have to revamp my technique. Depending on, I got some meetings with surgeons and stuff and see what they can do and see what the risk factors are and things. And another possibility is revamping my playing to where I'm playing with my fingers.
Yes.
And that's going to require more legato style. So I got so much work in front of me to do. But in the process of doing that, I'm going to be writing some new music to fit that.
Yeah.
And also working on ideas with my son and trying to get him interested in playing with me, you know, just some duet things.
That's really cool. It's great to see you, Steve, at this point of your career and still evolving as a player and as a musician and an artist. It's really it's inspiring. I'm getting older, you know, and you sort of think, well, yeah, I can still do this. It's very inspiring.
Well, if you can hear it here, you can make it come out the speakers somehow.
Yeah.
That's what I'm counting on.
So we kind of answered really my final question, which is what's next? You know, are we going to see another Steve Morse Band album? Do you think? Is there talks of that yet? Or
I don't know because the format of me being able to cover all the parts all the time.
Yeah.
Depending on how the arthritis treatment, surgeries, or whatever.
How does it feel now? Because sometimes when I'm watching you play, your hand position still resembles that sort of. I could never do it. It still resembles that when you're playing.
Yeah, and I have to make those parts.
Yeah,
but I can't practice that way because it's so painful to do it.
Right.
When I do it live, it's going ow 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 ow. And so I don't practice that. So it's never as clean as I would like. And you know, I'm just thinking, I've got to. I mean, this is insanity.
Yeah,
I'm not the same person, so I got to play to my strengths, such as they are, and work around, you know, my limitations.
Yeah.
That's it. Means it's not going to be the same Steve Morse Band if we do, but likely will be maybe some more mellow stuff, and maybe not. Maybe, you know, Kevin was like, you know, he can shred and stuff.
Yeah,
but he also likes writing very much, and he can write, you know, music that is beautiful too.
Yeah,
we'll see how that works out.
So have you got any more live shows coming up, or are you just taking a break for now?
Take a break. I'm playing at the NAMM show with Paul Gilbert, and we're doing he's calling some cover tunes.
Yeah.
he's so good. I mean, whatever he does, he commits 100%. And
yeah,
I always feel like such a student, you know, when he does his thing.
Yeah.
Because he's got the tune wired and plays the most perfect solos. He's a great improviser and wonderful guy.
Yeah. I was actually talking NAMM shows and music, man. You've got quite a big anniversary coming up next year, isn't it? Is it? How many years is it? 30 or 40 years? 40 years. 40 years. Of the, because you are the first Music Man signature artist, aren't you?
Yeah. Because their philosophy was, instead of here, play this guitar, or what happened with Fender was here's our band of parts. We'll make you something as long as you use only these.
Yes.
And DeMarzio was like, well, yeah, we can do that, I guess. You want to use DeMarzio figures? Well, okay. A tunematic bridge? All right. These German locking nuts? Well, whatever. They said, well, let's whatever it is, let's try it. And we're not done until you love it.
Yeah.
If you don't love it, then we don't want to be part of it.
Yeah. But it's certainly stood the test of time, and really is. It's an iconic guitar. But it does the job for me. Yeah. I came to them I want to get a spare guitar. I had my Fender, and I wanted to get a spare guitar that was a little bit more refined. And this absolutely fills the bill. Yeah.
And now I'm going to play at the NAMM show with a guitar that somebody picks off the shelf. Not my number one.
Yeah.
But because they make the signature things so well, I'm going to be able to just
take it off and play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, I'm going to be playing through a borrowed 20-watt Engl amp head. Yeah. So with a guitar cord. Well, so it's back to basics in a big way.
Yeah. Well, I hope you have a really good NAMM show, and just want to, extend my own personal congratulations and thank you for this. This is it's such a wonderful album, and it's inspiring stuff. And thank you so much once again, Steve. We've got so much time. Whenever we talk, you're always so generous with your time.
Well, thank you for being the way you are, and like I said, being able to do so many things, and then be able to assume the role of interviewer when you know exactly, exactly what's going on. You know the answer to all these questions.
No,
you see it on the other side.
I am but the student, and have been the student of your music since I was probably 15, 14 years old. So it's always super inspiring to get together and talk.
Well, great to talk to you. Thank you for having me, and thanks everybody for watching. If anybody made it this far.
I'm sure they did. Thank you so much, Steve. Take care.
Bye-bye.